Hello, everyone. Today, we're exploring a fundamental aspect of our faith, and that is deepening our connection with God. In the Bible, it tells us there in Psalm 62 and 8, pour out your hearts to Him, you people. God is our refuge. And this particular verse here out of Psalms, it brings up a powerful question. And the question is, how can we strengthen our bond with God? When you think about that particular question there, you realize that throughout the Bible, we see prayer as a cornerstone of connecting with God. As a matter of fact, the book of Psalms are filled with examples of people expressing their joys and sorrows and hopes directly to God in prayer. But let's be honest. In a fast paced world that we live in, prayer more often than not it gets pushed aside. And we might feel unsure on how to make it meaningful, so we don't do it, or we struggle to find the time to do it if we really wanted to. But there's good news, though. Despite all that, just like any relationship, building a connection with God requires consistent effort. When you look at prayer from this perspective, it makes sense because prayer is the bridge that allows us to communicate with God. Not only communicate with God, we can express our emotions to God, and not only that, we open up ourselves to His guidance. So today, what we want to do is we want to explore how prayer can be that key that opens the way to a deeper relationship with God. I mentioned this earlier that the Bible says, "Pour out our hearts to God." So let's explore three ways that prayer can strengthen our connection with God and put us in that position where we are able to open up and pour out our hearts to God. Uh, the first point I like to make deals with the fact that prayer is a form of communications. Uh, think of prayer as a two-way communication, form of communication. We can talk with God about anything, big or small. And by doing that, we're able to share our joys, our sorrows, and even our dreams. Anything that comes on our heart, we can share it with God. But remember this, though. It's good to pour out your heart, but it also is even better for you to listen, to be quiet for a moment, so that the answer can be poured into you. When you open yourself to that sense of peace and that nudge of intuition or a feeling of inner knowing, that just might be God giving you the guidance that you desire. For example, perhaps you're facing a tough decision. When you pray for clarity and wisdom, be open to the feeling and thoughts that might guide you toward the right choice to make. Because when you make a decision, it's based on choices. Which would you prefer? And once you make that preference of that choice, you cut off all other possibilities. Well, if you're not listening clearly, you might cut off that not so much a possibility, but the reality of what God is telling you, and miss out on the information that you need to make an informed and intelligent decision about your next move. The next point I wanted to point out concerning why prayer is very important to our life when it comes to developing a deep relationship with God is that prayer is a form of gratitude. Taking a moment each day to express gratitude for God's blessing, big or small, strengthens your connection and fosters a positive outlook toward God. Because by acknowledging God's presence in your life, what you do is you deepen your appreciation for His love and grace. Maybe you wake up one morning and there's a beautiful sunrise, or you're having a productive day at work. Why not take a moment to thank God for these joys? They're not simple. It may seem simple because He is the one that does it, but if you try to turn things around, it tends to get worse. But when you allow God to take controls and you acknowledge God for the fact that He controls everything, then He'll turn a rainy day into a blessed day. He can turn a dark day into a day of joy, a moment of joy. The third point I want to make is prayer. You can look at prayer as a means of transformation. See, prayer can also be a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. And when you confess your shortcomings through prayer, and when you seek God's forgiveness for the times you have failed, what it does, it paves the way for a better version of you. And by acknowledging our weaknesses before Him and how imperfect we are, we open ourselves to God's transforming power. You see, if you make a mistake, and you know that you made a mistake, and you know that you did it on purpose, and was no accident, but you did it on purpose. But after you did it, you realize that you shouldn't have, then the most obvious thing to do is to pray for forgiveness. And what happens then that you gain strength to learn from that mistake, and hopefully you won't make it again. By asking God to guide you towards becoming a better person, what happens is you'll become more connected with Him and more loving toward Him. I hope you found one of those points to be very important to you right now where you are. And if not, I'm sure in the days to come it will uh, be more relevant. So come back and visit this video often. That way you'll be reminded of the fact of how important prayer is to all of us. But by incorporating these practices into your life, what you can do is cultivate a deeper and more meaningful relationship with God. Remember, prayer is a journey, not a destination. So start small, be consistent, and trust God in all His ways. And above all, listen to Him with an open heart. Well, I hope you, like I said, got something out of this little time that we spent together. But share your thoughts on prayer in the comments below. Let us know um, what they mean to you, what these points mean to you, or what you can add to this conversation that'll help others as well. And by doing so, what we'll end up doing is building a community of faith together. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more inspiring content on strengthening your connection spiritually. Until the next time, in between time, stand strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Goodbye.